Good to see you here again in this new lecture of human rights. Last one, week 13. I put you now the whole picture of the movie 1917 because today we will see the beginning of the First World War, well, at least one part. And I really recommend you this movie to see more or less how it was. It's so good. It's a relatively recently movie. So today we will see many things, many incredible things. New battles about the right to work and also right to rest. We will see also two battles today, not just one, but two in each part of the lecture, no? As you can see there. No? First, the Battle of Russia, the Russian Revolution, and then another one in Greek, and related to the right to rest. And finally, after seeing that, we will play Kahoot, and we will check if you realize well, and understand all the things of this lecture. So probably could be good to take some notes of everything. Also, I will put in the Kahoot 2 questions about the battles. So let's see. The winner of the Kahoot will have 1.2 or 2 or 3 even points. Then I have to see for the average. So let's begin with our lecture with the battle of, well, a war of this country. Don't you know which it is? Which is this country? An empire, an empire. The Russian Empire, incredible, so big. No, you can see also here Alaska was part of the Russian Empire. Well, and many other places also. And this was the principal, the man with the power, the Tsar, that had at that time the whole empire. No? So he is Alexander III, Emperor of Russia. It's a great empire. And King of Poland and Grand Duke of Finland, and well, and it's quite good to you can see the years in which he governed the empire. He was part of the family of the Romanov, a very old family, 3 centuries old family, no? So you can imagine that was probably the most powerful family at that time. With the whole empire. So it's good to know some background of the history of those years, because then you will understand better why the world changed a lot and the world too, the world. So, and also you will understand better the right to rest, both the right to work and the right to rest. So, the Industrial Revolution. What happened with the Industrial Revolution? Well, many things, many shit. For sure you will remember some pictures like that. People working in the industries. It began in the UK. In the UK. Well, it was a long period. It's a period of transition, included going from hand production methods to machines, new chemical manufacturing, and iron production process. And also the increasing of the steam power and the water power and the development of machine tools and the rise of the mechanized factory systems. So the Industrial Revolution also led to an unprecedented rise in the rate of the population growth and the wealth of the people. The standard of living for the general population began to increase incredible as we have never seen in the history of the humankind. So especially in the last century, it was so incredible. And not just the standard of living, the average, but also the GDP per capita abroad. Any state was increased incredibly with the Industrial Revolution. So for many people that study history, they say that the Industrial Revolution is the most important event in the history of humanity since the domestication of animals and plants. Well, I don't know if it is true, but in any case, you can imagine that this is a quite important event. So, change the method of production, as I told you, no? And the new tools, the new machines that will, and the productivity of the work of the human change a lot. The beginning was also many problems, no? And still, as in the past, but now the same, no? In the past, where the poor peasants that cannot have so many things. Now, well, more or less the middle class was increased in the last century, and now is stronger than 2 centuries ago. But at the very beginning, well, so many people just here working with a limit of time in a very poor conditions, but with a remuneration. The very beginning was too small. There were no limits of the minimum wage, the minimum salary, but that was the world in the 18th century. And Russia in the 19th century realized that, well, we have to change the empire. And they did a lot of effort to put so many industries in Russia. With some delay. The first one was Great Britain. No? The second one, well, many other countries, but then Russia. Let's be like Europe. No? Europe was the model for Russia, and they did so many things. That's why they have now a great industry still today. No? So. And this is one of the emperors that promotes more the industrialization. This gives a lot of wealth to the country. It is good to know. This emperor had no big battles, no major war. And the very interesting thing here is that also the economic production helped little by little to improve the living standards of the Russian peasant, no? In the empire in the last 2 decades of the 19th century. So this is good to know, no? For example, in 1890, there were new crops such as sugar, beet, and new access to railway transportation, and a great increasing of production. So there were no problem of hunger that were before. And the exports of Russia began to increase. that was so good also for the rich class, but also for the peasants, well, because they had not hunger like in the past generation. That was incredible. So little by little, as happening with the same industrial revolution around the world, little by little, there were a new class, the middle class, well, beginning to grow, and also the workers beginning to claim new rights and to counter those rights little by little, because at the very beginning they had no rights approved in the legal system. So Alexander passed away and a new Tsar with completely different ideas arise. But before the Tsar, we will see the next Romanov who was. It's good to know a little about the Russian parties. So, because with this you will understand better what happened after that. So, the constitution, there were many parties. I will show you the four most important. Okay, so the Constitutional Democratic Party, founded in October 1905. We will see what happened in that day. No? Well, a liberal centrist promoted constitutional monarchy. They were the supporters of the Tsar, as you know. There were some other people, parties that also promote the Tsar. For example, the Union of October 17 constituted the same year. That year there were a lot of strikes against the Tsar, and the Tsar shooted against the population and the war. You will see. And well, they also were reformist, but liberal too, and constitutional too, and supported. But there were some divisions about this, how the suffrage, who can vote and in which way. So, and on the other side, in the left, there were many parties. The Social Democrats wanted to expropriate the land of the landowners without payment, no. But there were a debate about well, who will have the land. So the peasants or not, or the collective local owners. So in the common property, there will be no private property. At that time, remember, Russia is still trying to industrialize the empire first. So what it means, that the economy structure is based principally on the land, little by little changing, little by little, but little by little changing. No? But it's absolutely based on the land. Today is simply unbelievable to think an economy without, well, any little property, because it's quite different. No? There is a market. If there is not a market, you cannot sell your well, you have to think. But in that time, that was based on the land. They say, well, each one should have the right to eat, and for it is so necessary the land. We have seen something the last week, no? So they were thinking in the more or less in the antique economic structure, based just on the land, not on the services, not on technology. So that's why they think, yeah, that is so. No? Who is the owner, and that will be the solution for all kind of things. Today, nobody believes that. No, but at that time, well, and it was so important. And today, still, the owners of the land is important, but not as in those days. So there was the Socialist Revolutionary Party, was a major political party that advocated the distribution of the land among those who actually worked it. So not the peasants, well, the peasants are workers, yes. This was a major, this was the seal, and well, there were finally the Russian Social Democrats labor parties, the Marxists also, with this seal. It's interesting to know which kind of seals could be there. And it was divided with the Mensheviks and the Bolsheviks. The first one promotes say that the working class was insufficiently developed and that socialism could be achieved only after a period of bourgeoisie democratic rule. Well, first democracy, and after that, socialism. No? On the other hand, there were another fighters, the Bolsheviks, under Vladimir Lenin. For sure, you will remember that name. You have probably seen so many pictures of Lenin. Well, they support the idea of forming a small elite professional revolutionist, a strong party with a strong party discipline that with the fight, the battles, and the strikes, and many things to change the country. And you will see how they change. Absolutely, they took the power. Both of them have the red flag, the Mensheviks and the Bolsheviks, but the pure red flags were in the hands of the Bolsheviks. So that was more or less the party structure when this more or less a new Tsar arrived to the power. Nikolai II, called also Alexandrovich Romanov. The Russians used to have many names, as you can see, as myself. He was Emperor of Russia between 1894 to 1917. So he was the successor of Alexander III. He was he don't agree with the idea of don't have war of Alexander III. No, he changed absolutely the politics and was more focused on Europe. So there were many battles there, many battles, and one of them, Pakistan, trying to reach. And this was a little tricky because well, with Turkestan, China realized well that there could be something, and also well there was an expansion. Well, and also Afghanistan. And that was so difficult because what happened with the other part of the world with Europe, no? Europe had so many colonies in the south of Asia. They saw, well, the emperor of this great empire that is bigger than all of ourselves, probably united, well, is trying to get the colonies, our colony, no, will reach. So there were a lot, not battles, but a lot of dialogues and embassies, and that was the great game, no? And because they will reach India soon. Well, so they finally, there were many issues also in Europe with Germany. There was always was a big trouble for the countries in Europe, also for Russia, because there were many battles. So at the end, there were an alliance the triple entente. Entente. I don't know how to pronounce in English. Entente, I think. But in any case, the UK, France, and Russia, all of them together for fight against Germany and Austria. Austria was a great empire, more that you will remember, no? The Holy Sacred Empire. Well, more or less the rest of that was here. Was incredible. And they will play a great role in the First World War, precisely with that. So one incredible thing that happened here is the railways. The railways. For sure, you remember that in the United States, one weapon, the American Revolution, was the railway. How to transport very fast troops. Also, Genghis Khan, 1,000 years ago, how to transport the troops with horses was incredible change. He was able to dominate Europe. No? So Nikolai decided, well, let's promote the railways, and they built these railways to Trans-Siberian, you can see here, and close to China also. And this allowed him to get more contact with this part of the empire. But because at the beginning was so far, impossible. But if you can put your troops here, you will be able to do so many things. So they decided, well, let's continue the battle here. As you can see in Manchuria, in Korea here, and in China. So what it means, they will have more enemies, not just those of Europe, but this line was more or less with some kind of peace. But now they will be able to transport all the troops, and they had a lot of battles here. One of the biggest one and the worst one was the Russo-Japanese War. So you can see here the battle. No? In the Manchuria, this is Manchuria, and Korea, and in China, you know very well, no? So, but it was so problematic because remember there were another kind of battles here. So it means to give people to collect more taxes, as always, to take the goods of the people, to put them on fire, to destroy the wealth of a country with battles. That happened, and it happened in every war. So you will imagine that even if the standard of living was a little increasing at the end of the 19th century, at the beginning of the 20th century, with these kind of things was going down. So there were many problems, and there were also the books, doctrines, teachings of Marx. Now that Marx, the principal thing that Marxists do is to, and this is good to know, no? is to promote hate between the classes, between the ones who have the power, it's to promote hate. And so with these kind of things, well, people losing their families, fighting war, but that they don't understand very well why, and so many things. Well, it was a very big issue in Russia. There were a lot of strikes at the very beginning, and they went to the Tsar, into the palace. What they did, the army, well, to shoot against the people. There was a very bad ambience in the city. So this was incredible. So, well, we will see also. So that year, at the end, happened many things. Two things I mentioned you. The first one, that two parties were instituted there, no? The Tourist Party and the well, and the other, the Union. Then what when other things happen? Well, the revolution, the Marxist, the socialist revolution began that year, 1905. All the Soviets get together, well, to see how to change the state, no, the empire, no. And that was more or less the day also of the manifesto, the October Manifesto of 1906. Nicholas reluctantly issued the October Manifesto, which considered the creation of a National Duma. It means the National Assembly, the Duma, to be called without delay, because he realized that, well, with this new situation, nobody want to follow his orders. So let's create a National Assembly, and I will govern with the Duma, with the National Assembly. So that happened in 1906. And with the Duma, you will imagine, no? The Tsar will lose the power, and on the other hand, all the peoples will have more power against the Tsar. So finally, what happened in the Japanese War? With all these problems, the Tsar decided, well, I'm not longer interested in this part of the world. I will be focused in Europe. So it was a defeat. He signed, probably he will have more power, more people, more arms and weapons and everything. But with the internal problems, he decided, well, will not manage that. And it was a great defeat. When you lose territories of your country, you will be not so, will have a good reputation. And that happened to this Tsar Nikolai. And also the same with the invasion of Germany in support of the Serbs. He had some kind of family there, and that was with excuse to promote the war there, but there was a reversal, reversal. So the fame of Nikolai II was destroyed absolutely, without power, losing every battle, with asking money to the people. So, and now with a lot of hate against him, because those books of Marx, and also because there were many issues in the society, as you know very well. I mentioned some of the problems of the workers, but there were many, and especially in Russia, many times worse than slaves there. No? Incredible. No? So, and then the World War I began in July 28th of 1915. So this was, as you know, no? That's what the alliance between the UK, France, and Russia, they get involved immediately in the First World War. So after this, he decides, I have to move. The capital is not so good to be here. there are many people that want my head, no? So I will be in the front, I will fight this battle, I have all the powers, I will get the fame in the borders. Well, so the effects of the war, you know very well. Food and fuel were in short supply, casualties were increasing, and the inflation around the empire, Russia, was mounting. No? So he decides, I will command the army, and he moves to the front. And the Empress Alexandra will be in charge in the capital. This is the emperor. There are many stories with the Alexandra. Why? Because, well, I'm realizing that he was converted to the Orthodox faith, and there was a monk called Rasputin, that many people say he expelled the empress. So at the end, well, she don't want to do anything. You can see there the annual strikes. They were increasing until the big one of 1905. And after some years of the revolution, the socialist revolution, well, the February Revolution in 1917 took the power. And soon, Nicholas abdicated in March 2019, and the Bolshevik took control. So I will put you now a video more or less explaining, and will not put all, but mention you
of gilded luxury. There was a long history of struggle in Russia against the injustices of the system. And in 1905, a revolution forced the Tsar to allow the creation of a State Duma, or National Assembly. But its power was limited, and the compromise pleased neither the Tsar nor the reformers. In 1914, this divided empire was plunged into fresh crisis by World War. World War I was a disaster for Tsarist Russia. At the front, the country suffered a series of devastating defeats, while at home there were food shortages and economic chaos. The Tsar was held responsible for the crisis. After all, he was now the army's commander-in-chief, and he was standing in the way of government reform. His German-born wife, Empress Alexandra, was even thought to be supporting Germany, while the entire family was said to have fallen under the spell of a Siberian mystic and faith healer, Grigory Rasputin. In December 1916, Rasputin was murdered by Russian aristocrats, possibly with the help of British secret agents, both groups determined to end his influence over the Tsar. But in the eyes of many, the damage had already been done. On the 23rd of February 1917, thousands of women took to the streets of the Russian capital, Petrograd, to mark International Women's Day and protest over bread shortages. The next day, they were joined on the streets by workers and students carrying placards that read, "Down with the Tsar." Troops ordered to put down the disorder mutinied and joined the protesters instead. Tsarist officials were arrested. Prisons and police stations were attacked. Emblems of Tsarist rule smashed and burned. The government had lost control of the capital. The Tsar was told by his ministers that order could only be restored and Russia saved from military defeat if he gave up power. So, on the 2nd of March, Nicholas agreed to abdicate. In just 10 days, 300 years of Romanov rule had come to an end. The February Revolution had been remarkably swift and bloodless, and hopes were now high for the creation of a more democratic, more just Russian state. Members of the State Duma, the National Assembly, had formed a provisional government, which was to hold power until a constituent assembly was elected, to give Russia a new constitution. But in reality, the provisional government shared power with the Petrograd Soviet, a council elected by workers and soldiers that controlled the capital's troops, transport, and communications. The Petrograd Soviet, dominated by the Socialist Revolutionary Party and the Marxist Menshevik Party, was much more radical than the provisional government. Yet it supported the government's decision to continue the war and honor the commitments that Russia had made to the Allies. It was a fateful decision that ultimately played into the hands of one of the smaller parties, the Bolsheviks. Their leader, Vladimir Lenin, recently returned from 16 years in exile, bitterly opposed the imperialist war. He also demanded the immediate redistribution of land, from rich landowners to peasants, and the transfer of power from the bourgeois provisional government to the people's soviets or councils that were springing up across Russia. The Bolshevik program was summed up in a simple slogan: bread, peace, and land. And as Russia's economic and military...
Well, as you can see, it is longer. I really recommend you. What happened that after a year, well, they were captured, the family, and they were murdered. They were killed in July 17 of 1918. After 1 year of the abdication of Nikolai, they were killed, all of them. So that was the end of the Romanov. There, and after that, as the video said, the Bolsheviks, the small group, but with a strong discipline, well, with a strong ways of fight with people, killing people and many things. They took the control of the government. Russia became, as you know, communist. No, so they fired against the family, and that's a photo that we have. It was incredible because the family had so many jewelry in their clothes, and it helped, for example, to detain the bullets, no? To stop the bullets. So they had to fight too many times because it was impossible to kill the family. Incredible. What a story, no? So I want to show you another video now that is the world most productive countries in the last 70 years. And you will see where is Russia, where is China, where is Cuba, where is all the communist countries. You will see. So this is the, no, sorry. Okay. this is per hour work. It means if you work in each country, if one person works 1 hour, how much will be the productivity per guy, per person? You can see Switzerland. It's incredible. I don't know if you have been there. Today we are great workers. I really believe that they have some things good. So this, the capacity to work. It's not the same in South America. It's not the same. Norway, it's incredible. Netherlands, Switzerland. The productivity. Switzerland and that area, Norway. I don't know. Now it's better the government. It's incredible. So you can see in 70 years as that you will create I think that the problem I cannot control because it is the same. Sorry, that's the connection by Zoom that shared the problem. So at the end, you can see here, I will put here at the end in the place. What happened here? Russia is always at the end, no? 44. The place 44. There are many other countries. China is better at the end, is better, but in the place 28. So you can see there, the most wealthy country works a lot. It's incredible. Many people, many times, what happened when one guy of South America goes to the United States, realize that they have to work twice. It's more incredible. It's incredible. There are many statistics. For example, many to do the work of one people of Norway. In Mexico, you have to hire 2 people for do the work of one of the Norway. Yeah, and you realize why they increase the wealthiness of a country. Working is not many. What happened with those countries? Well, if you have the security of a salary, like in the communist countries, well, you will do not as much as you can. Probably, well, if you work so much, or you work just 1 hour, 2 hours, you will receive the same. What you will do, for example, this is so clear. If I put the same grades, the same marks to all of you, you will study or not human rights? No, not at all. Well, if I receive the same grade, well, yeah, well, it's good. I'm really not so interested. There are many things, no. But if I evaluate you, it will be so different, no. And that's why the whole countries of the socialist movement, the level of productivity is so low. They dedicate more time, well, to parties, to politics, to so many things, and there was a lot of corruption because but when you have to survive with your work and nobody will pay you everything as in the communist countries, well, things are quite different, no? You will put more effort in your work. I think that is quite clear. here. The productivity is related to the work. I don't know. You can think. So, some questions. No, what is the notion of work? For example, does this buffalo is working or not? Incredible, a great buffalo, domesticated. Another kind of buffalo here is difficult, no? Is working or not? Probably yes, both. No? This is a guy of Vietnam, by the way. I will put you some photos of people working in Vietnam, and very close to the Vietnam War. Some photos. So another, monks work, monks praying. this picture seems to be that it's not just praying, but also carrying in things for I don't know what. So there is another doctrine that says, well, we have to pray working. No? As you know very well, all our life we have to convert, to transform in a prayer. Yeah. Well, what is work? What is work? Work, I will say, work is the action through which the individual, exercising the power, the potencies, the powers of the body or of the spirit, the buffalo just the body, seeks to perfect himself as a human person or as a buffalo to benefit himself or others, specifically in the case of human being. The animals don't think to help, for example, to help the gazelle to be from being eaten by the lion. No, no, as well as to perfect physical reality. Yeah, that is the notion of work that is so interesting. But to perfect ourselves. So we are working now. I'm working teaching you, and you are working hearing me. A great effort. I realize you have to realize that is a great effort also by myself, by my part. And there is no work without physical, mental, or spiritual effort. So this is quite interesting. Why? Because there are people. If you study a career and after so many years, you will put more effort in less time. For example, one person in the gym cannot carry very weight the first day, but probably after a year will carry more because he will have muscles. He will put more effort. No? It's the same with the intellect. If we know so many things in less time, we will write better articles, better demands, better agreement. Well, it's a kind of effort, and therefore you are able to put more effort in less time is because you have the skills, the capacity, and so on. And finally, the human work is always a joint effort. We work together. Yeah, it's impossible just a guy, because we have to learn how to work first from our parents, our family, our society, reading books of others, and after that we would take all the effort of the past generations of the people, and we will do so many things. Technique is a kind of a joint effort, no? So is the work a goal? What is a goal? Let's begin to think in a legal terms. Is the work a duty? Is the work a mission or a right? What do you think? I think that this is an easy question. So you can write also in the chat if you want. It's good to think about in these kind of things, no? So I will say that work first is not an end in itself. Remember, when I asked you, what is more important, to work or to rest? So many of you say, no, to work is incredible, because without that we cannot do anything. Yeah, but work is work for. It's work for. It's a duty. Yes, I agree that it's a duty. It's a mission or not. Well, the work is also for one thing, but to rest it's an end in itself. The work not. The work not. It's quite interesting. We can read. I'm showing this to Jituka that in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the Article 23, it says, no, everyone has the right to work. Well, it's a right to, and it adds many conventions to free choice of employment, to just and favorable conditions of work, and protection against unemployment. So, the International Covenant of Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights also said more than the same, no? That this covenant stress out the right of everyone to the opportunity to gain his living by work. This is, I think that is more clear, no? What it means, the right to work, seems to be more a programmatic right, no? That the state should put some measures enable to be to create the conditions in a society for each individual to have the opportunity to gain his life by work. So it's more precise, the international covenant. I think so, no? I think so. Let's go with another question. Why we work? Means the end. Why we work? Why we work? No? Yeah, probably, as you can see, it's a right, a duty, probably it's a mission. Yeah, why we are here in the earth? To work, no? To work. You can read also in the Bible and in many other sacred books, no? It's a mission also. We have to work here, no? Probably we check again the statistics that I showed you, you will realize that at least this commandment is better fulfilled in the north than in the south, according at least to the statistics. So why we work? Why we work? You can imagine, if you can, please write. I think that is good, no? To the development of the people. Yes, Tasnim.
So I would say that why do we work? It's for our development, and I also mentioned it in the chat. But something that we learned during last year during our ethics classes and social and political philosophy is essentially on this aspect of the right to work is an anthropological right that man holds, because when you work, you're not just, you mentioned it, you're not just working as an individual, you're working as a society. And so you, among others, are able to contribute to your human development that helps you achieve your purpose, which is to do good, and then even your purpose, which can be to attain happiness. Yeah, so that's essentially the end goal and the reason why we work.
Perfect. So you mentioned the ultimate end, but not the others. The realization of the person, not just ourselves, but also the whole society. We work for the person. And this is important to know. We work for the person. When the workers work in the a company, they work for the people of the company. This is so important. It's not just a merchandise, the work, human work, and also to the happiness of the person, and to give oneself to the other, and to rest. No? Yeah. We spend so many years till our retirement. Our retirement, we have to rest, and then we will rest in peace forever. Yeah, this should be a rest, a very rest. Well, but there are also immediate ends, no? To cover our basic needs. If we don't work, we will have no food. We will have no many things to survive, and to organize the environment, also to put some order here, and to know things. We read. It's all about money. I don't think so, because the money. But well, there are many people that loves money, no? But no. But we work for our family, to protect our family, no? Obviously, first, I would put also the immediate ends. Immediate ends to fulfill the agreement. I have to fulfill the labor contract, the work contract, and also I work for money. Just, but this is just the immediate end. I agree, but this is just, you need money for, but because you want to buy some other thing, not because you really love the paper. No, you love other things, not money. Money because you can buy the thing that you really want. And at the end of the day, you can be a self-finished guy, but also to think also what I will try with my money to help at least my family, and if I can, and if I have a good heart, probably the society and the needy persons and so many people. So as you can see, there are levels of aims, no? And at the end should be the person, ourselves, and the others, and money not to pay more work, not to rest, That is why it's an ultimate in the rest. So how much is the work worth? So this is first, it's not just as buying, for example, the work of the buffalo. No, because it's the work of a person. So it reflects the person. So there is a distinction because between three values. The subjective values is the value of the person. It reflects the dignity of the person. So dignity, you will realize, you will remember this, not measurable value. No, it's so big that we cannot call it value, but dignity. It's the phrase of Spemann. So obviously, when it is well done, when it's not the work of the serial killer, that work never reflects the person. And there is another kind of value, no? The objective value, no? If the work is good, with a good quality, and there is a lot of effort, and the purpose is good, and the productivity is so high, and the effects are so good for the society, you will say, well, this work really worth is worth so much, no? So, and on the other hand, you have also this. This is so important because after that we will talk about very soon how much should be the just or fair remuneration, the fair salary, and this will help us. And finally, the relative value. The relative value is, well, in this specific project, for example, I want to teach how much is the value of the scientist of neurology for teaching this? Nothing, because I don't need that work. That is not my subject. So for my project here, teaching you, the work of that scientist is zero value. Probably in his project is probably could be much more than my lecture now. It will be worth probably $1 million, for example, no? And my lesson will worth there in that project zero. Yeah, it depends on the market and the circumstance and the time. Yeah. So I will say with the Human Rights Declaration, well, that with the same that we have. It's a right. It's a right. It includes many things. Once again, that's the same thing that we have seen. But I want to ask now, what kind of favorable conditions mean? What it means? What it means? Many things. I will say the common good, the labor common good. Labor common good. So I will show you what it means in the International Covenant of Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights. Oh, sorry. They say, well, the work at least should have these conditions. No? You should receive a salary, a remuneration. We will see later what kind of conditions are here. Second, safe and healthy working. Yeah, safe and healthy, it should be health. You cannot risk your life working. With equal opportunity for everyone to be promoted in his employment to an appropriate higher level. Remember this, we will see something later, because it's quite usually in the companies that everyone will have not the same salary. Why? Well, because there are people that works more, and there are old people in the company, and they are the people that just arrived yesterday. So there will be different remuneration with these kind of things. No? Here the covenant says, subject to no consideration other than those of seniority and competence. Probably there could be another, also in the same covenant. Try to think which will be. And also, you can see here that rest, leisure, and reasonable limitation of working hours is included in the article of the work. It's included. Rest is included in the article of the work. That's quite interesting. That's quite interesting, because you will imagine that first is why we should include the rest in the article of the work. You will realize first the easiest answer is because I cannot work without any stop. I have to stop to take an air. Yeah, that's yes.
Can we also say it's because of the reform that came about as a result of the Industrial Revolution?
Yeah, that's true. That's absolutely true. Historically, but it is also because first you cannot work in an unstoppable way. You have to stop at least to take air. You are working, I don't know, with very strong exercise. For example, here. Taking, I don't know, it seems to be flour. I don't know what it is, or salt, but it seems to be salt. But I don't know really what it is. Well, but you cannot work with a physical work 10 hours. No, you have to stop. So the work is not an end in itself. If for work, you have to take more care with the end of the work and not with the means that is the work. Some principles. Let's see some principles here. So first one, you will remember this for sure. I don't know if you know any other. In dubio pro operario. Yeah. Obviously, when the worker are the weaker, when the workers are the weaker, then you will apply in dubio operario. But then when they are not, there's, remember, there is not always labor relationship of dependency and exclusivity for long-term or perpetual, or yeah, many times there is a work, yes, and you hire someone to repair something of your home. Yeah, so this is quite different. Yeah, many times they have more power than the one who hires them. But more or less the principle is this, no? The principle of labor dignity. You have to treat the worker with respect, and also the employer, not just one part. Remember that there are many parts here. Personal work, the work is done by the person, it's not by a machine, not by a slave, no, it's by a person. With the person and for the person, and the principle of gainful work, right? To receive and dispose of the fruits of the labor. Yeah, if I work, I will be able to receive the things. No, obviously the employer also work, and they will receive, and the money represents work. That's why the ones who put the capital and put the capital on risk, at risk. So it's in some sense also giving part of his work. Probably he was a worker in the past and he gained that money to put in a company. So it represents also some amount of work. It's not just the work of the one that arrived yesterday. No, possible work in prison. Nobody is obliged to the impossible or to wear out his health. No, we can work just in the possible things for ourselves. No, the principle of proper work. Each one has the right to carry out a work that is appropriate to their physical, mental, spiritual, historical, cultural, and factual circumstances. That's why there is another principle of free, yeah, freedom. No? Each one should choose what kind of work is the best work for oneself. No? The free work principle is the next one, and the principle of equality. But I mentioned you some of these things. There should be a difference between the salary for the people that work most. For example, it's not the same the relationship of a worker full-time and part-time. Obviously, you have to pay more to the full-time. No? And also, well, if the university normally, if you have a title of PhD, will be better remunerated. You will have better salaries than if you don't have this kind of degrees. Probably because you spend more time trying to understand better the subjects. No. Well, and here is the answer of the question that I asked a few minutes ago. Well, these are also, you can put treat differently your workers in a company because the track record, the preparation capacity, effort, but also for affirmation when the affirmation actions. No, for example, for people with disabilities, many times they will have little aid, help support more than the others because they need a little help. And it is possible in the international jurisprudence of human rights, no, to help them and to help them, and it is, yeah, because they are weak and the weak need some kind of support, as you can remember of our lectures of human rights. So this is quite interesting. Should children work? There are many treaties that says children cannot work, and obviously you have to distinguish here. What kind of work? What kind of work? This is quite interesting. What kind of work? Should children work or not? What do you think? Yes, Rosalind.
They should work, especially within the families and school, like the duties that children ought to fulfill in the home and what's expected of them in places like school.
Okay, they should be in the school. And Georgina, yes.
Yeah, I agree with Rosalind, but also in the event that, because even in other countries, people who are even below the appropriate age, they work, but there are certain measures. It shouldn't be too much and it shouldn't be in an industry, and there's even a time limit they should work. So they can work. Yeah.
Do you think that is good or bad?
I don't, don't know.
Yeah, that's why we are thinking now here, no? Not just reading the treaties, but think. I will say that we have to distinguish so many things. It depends. For example, first, what kind of culture? Huh? There are many people that are still in the culture is based in the land and in the work of the land. So the school, well, you can go to the school, okay, but the thing that you will do probably is some other things. So for them probably is to work a little to know how to work. No, it's like a school for many of them. To go to the forest, to the plantation, and to see how it works, and yeah, probably. So it depends. This is one kind of culture. Another kind of culture is the absolutely technologized, with a lot of technology and with a lot of service, and that is the important thing in that culture. No? That is more or less the most common culture in the north, at least, and everywhere also, in the cities at least. So, well, you can see there that there are many children working there. I don't know. Well, there are many statistics of the most richest guys in the world and the youngest, and there are people with just 10 years with a lot of money because they work on internet creating an app and these kind of things. Also, there is as you can see, there are football players and but also online players, and they also gain so much money, and influencers, and they are working. They are working. It's quite different work, but they are working. They are children, and nobody says no. You cannot work. There is a treaty. No. Probably the problem here, who is the owner of the money, should be the children. So and obviously, if you have 16, 17 years, can you walk? Yes, absolutely, absolutely, everywhere. So what is the prohibition, the ban of working? Not servile working, not working as slaves, and taking all the money from them. Yeah, probably they work. You have to separate the the patrimony that they gain, or at least, or to support the family, So it is not so clear. So the clearest thing is that you cannot treat them like as slaves. And the second clearest thing is that one mentioned by Rosalind, I think so, that they have to study. But on the other hand, with the notion of work, study is a kind of work. So I will say they have the duty to work on their education, the duty and also the right to be educated, no? Both. So as you can see, there are many things, no? There are many things here, no? So many countries are changing a little things about the legal system, about the how to work and at which age. It's important, the age, no? And obviously there are many treaties that says that you have to be educated, you have to finish the school, and that's good. That's good. Probably the best policy, no, to put, no. But remember, there are many requirements around the world, many different conditions. Well, I had a friend. Well, I had a friend that was my classmate. Was a very good player, and he was in number 8 in the world of tennis. No, number 8. He won a lot of money, and he never went to the school. He was my classmate till when I was 12, and he then was just in the fields playing tennis, gaining a lot of money. And nobody will say, no, you cannot work. No, because he had a better, successful life than myself, at least in some topic, some specific thing. So it, when we say they cannot work, we mean they cannot be working on servile things. Okay. So it is, as you can see, there is a lot of stuff here. No? You can read more, you will read more. But now we will take specifically in this, the work relationship. No? Probably for children applied more or less. Principally the things of the work relationship. This, a longer and exclusive relationship, work agreement is probably is not the best for children, no? But for adults, yes. Which are the essential elements? For sure you will remember, no? The subjects, the remuneration, the work, this part of the common good, we will see, no? The contract and legal bond or part, the life of the labor relationship. We will see, well, more or less with some detail, and you will read more details of that here, no? So, which are the subjects of the work relationship, the labor relationship? Don't you know? It is an easy question. Really not so easy. It's a tricky question. Yes, Roslyn.
The employer, the employee, and I think the state to some extent.
The state to some extent. Okay. Any more? We have the worker, the unions. And you can say it's part of the worker, yes, the employer. And I will include also the enterprise, the company. For me, is so important. Yeah, many times someone is the one who hired you, but probably there are many people, the enterprise. And you will say, well, it's the company, but probably there is a holding and the holding will have also some kind of responsibilities, liability in the relation. And very good. These are the internal subjects of the work relationship. But there are another, the externals. Mostly, the authorities also have some part because they put the rules. They put the rules to the company, to the agreement, to the so many things. No? Can you imagine any other one? The competition and the consumer market also put the rules to each company, but it's an external player. But they put the rules. You can say, well, we will pay, I don't know, $10,000 to all of our workers, and we will just work the 3 hours a day and 4 days a week. So incredible conditions for the worker. But if you don't sell anything, or because it was so expensive, the product of your company, so what will happen? No one will have a work there. So the market also impose their conditions. No? I will not buy your things because you are so expensive. So the market also put the conditions, and if you cannot, what you will do, you will have to reduce the salaries and to be able to sell your things on the market. So you will read so many things about each one. I'm just showing you the structure, so you will be easily read all of the things. No? So the most important thing is the aim, as always. No? And the aim of every relationship is the common good, the good of the both parties. The work relationship, the labor, common good. So what it includes, no? Well, it's clear, no? The work for the company, for the employer, is a good, no? It's a good, and it's good not just for the company, also for the worker, because the worker can fulfill his life mission working. Remember, it's a mission also, the work, no? And can contribute. That is a crisis, for example, for the people that are old, that cannot work. They realize, well, seems to be that my life is at the end, no? Because I'm not working, I cannot contribute to the society. And it's not so clear, but they realize work is a good thing. And also, work, if someone brings you the possibility of working, you have to be very grateful. The remuneration also, the good of the parties, we will see this, and rest. We include here in the common good of the work relationship the rest, and the international covenant included. So the work, what did it mean? First, favorable conditions to work. Yeah. What we are seeing here now, what is good for the work relationship? This is important. Probably you will know in some other subjects many technical things, but probably, I don't know if you will see all the deepest things that you should know in the relation. So we will see the deepest one. And think, well, we in the work relationship, remember this, that this is so important. The work relationship is a personal, interpersonal relationship between persons, human beings. It's not just a relation with a robot, with a computer, with a machine. That will be slavery, treating a person as a slave, as a machine, as a piece of the system. See? Yes? So It means that the employer should take care of the condition of the worker. So, and well, you will read all the properties of the work that should be with quality, with, I put in here something, no? Should be finished on time, with quality, with order, and in good faith. Yeah. And the worker also should think that I'm in an interpersonal relationship. There are many workers that just work for remuneration. It's all about money, no? And treat the employers as a machines, as a slaves. No, I will do that, and you have to give me the money. Yeah, there are two parties, and both are person. So, what is the duty of the worker? Well, to treat the other as a person. Both parties. There are many parties that are not, many workers that are not loyal at all, that fulfills the minimum possible. No, and don't realize that any company or enterprise, that's why I prefer the word enterprise. It should be strange for you. Also, it's strange in Spanish, by the way, the word, but it's clear for me, because enterprise realize that you are working in a joint work with many people to take project and to achieve the goals of the project. So if you realize, for example, that things can be done better in another way, you have to say it. And there is a duty of dialogue. We mentioned something about the duties of dialogue in 3 weeks ago. So there is a duty of dialogue, yeah, to say, well, I think that the project will be improved in this way and this way. There is a duty of the worker, because the worker is part of a project, of a personal project. Okay, so there are two parties, not just one, not just the worker. Yeah, well, the remuneration is the most important thing. No? You can find in many treaties, many declarations, conventions on human rights, that the remuneration should cover so many things. And they will, for example, this is Article 7 of the International Covenant of Economic and Cultural rights, social. I need the S here. Well, in any case, should cover a decent living for themselves and their families. Yeah, this is clear. No? When you work for just not for work. It's not an end in itself. You work for survive you and for your family, and you should pay your retirement and so many other things, no, health and issues and so on. So, and there is also a statement about the equal remuneration. Yeah. So I will say that there are many things, no. The remuneration should cover you, your family, your health, your problem of security, you know, for your retirement. At the end of your work life, you have to have some money to survive, because you will be not able to work then. So I will say this definition is not a definition of a just remuneration. This definition is a definition of a sufficient remuneration, because just, well, probably you need to take care of other factors. A fair remuneration, for example, should include the effort of the people. If you go to a company and don't work at all, yeah, because you just sign it, but you are so lazy and you don't really want to work today. It's better to be on bed. Well, this guy will have not the right to that remuneration. Second, capacity also, assumed risks. There are many companies that put a lot of money and lose a lot of money. The risk is a really incredible thing. So the capital and the productivity. If the company has a lot of productivity, probably the fair remuneration should be higher. Not just to cover the basic needs of the guy and his family. No, probably it will be 10 times more, because there is a great productivity. It could be for up the fair remuneration, also for less. If we are living in a crisis, the company is going to close the doors, because no, it's impossible with coronavirus, and it's happening now. What you should do? So there are many laws around the world, in every country, that say, well, you can have some measures up to reduce, at least temporarily, in the time of crisis, to survive, because it will help first to the company to survive, but also to the workers to have a work in these incredible times, this pandemic year. No? So yes, crisis can reduce the salaries. Productivity will put higher the level of remuneration, of fair remuneration. So it is not just one factor that what is sufficient to survive. No, there are many other things. No, how is the market? How is the company? What kind of risks are inside, outside? What kind of burdens each party has? No? If the worker have more burdens, should be paid better. No, should be paid better. So you will read more the readings of this. Finally, the good of the parties. That is quite important, because as we say, labor relationship is a human relationship and interpersonal, and you should take care of the other, the worker of the employer and the employer of the worker. Obviously, the employer many times has more power, not always, but many times has more power, and that's why he has more responsibilities. So each party should respect the dignity, health, family, development, civic duties. That's why when there is elections, there will be a free day, a day off, to fulfill the civic duties. And also, that's why we give to the workers the weekend, because they need the function. Yeah, it's their right. It's part of the rest. So you can see that the rest is not just to some minutes to take air. It's something deeper. No? It's to treat the worker as a person, because the rest is the main aim of every human being, not to work, the other things. So to treat in the work relationship a guy as a person, it means to give the rest. And that's why it's so clever, the International Convention of Economic, Social and Cultural Rights, when it includes the rest and leisure and many other things in the rights related to the work. So the contract, the legal bond, and choice, first, it should be free. The agreement should be signed freely. Second, and this is quite important. labor bond is not indissoluble. Well, there are many laws that believes now that you will be in an enterprise, in a company forever, for your whole life. Yeah, I will say the bond is stability. Stability, yes, should have some stability, but it's not the marriage. It's not for your whole life till death. No, no. And there are many kind of work relationship. So many people just ask, for example, for I need to fix some water issues of my home, and I will hire someone to work in my house, but just 1 hour. I don't need for the whole life. This guy, yeah. And the legislation, the legal system should distinguish that not all kind of agreements are for life. Many times the legal system don't distinguish that, and that is a problem. That is a problem. Well, I will add, no, the labor bond is not static. Well, it changed during the life. No, there are many promotions of the workers into the company. There are crises also. We mentioned something about that. No. Well, how it ends? Well, as every agreement ends. We saw something in jurisprudence. You know very well these kind of things because you have another subject in your career about that. So I will be not so engaged in that topic. Finally, and this is important, the life of the labor relationship. I read many labor codes around the world, and many times they lack this, and this is quite interesting. This is also a principle of human rights jurisprudence. No? The central principle of the interpersonal labor relationship is that both parties should act in good faith, must seek in good faith the common good. We say which kind of things are in part of the common good. No? You have to pay if you are the employer, the worker have to work, and not just to give some work as a merchandise. No, to try to help with the work the people of your company. No? The principle of hope. At the end of the lecture of human rights, we are talking about hope. The enterprise, for so many philosophers, are a space, and is a space of hope. Hope is quite interesting, this principle. No? The entrepreneur, the enterprise, what is the duty? To offer hope. No? To offer hope to the people that have no place to work. Well, I will give you a place to work and a human activity to promote yourself and to give you the opportunity to give something to the society. Hope for the capitalist also, no? With your capital, I will increase your capital. No? The hope also for receiving a remuneration, the hope to be a part of a great project. Yeah, it's hope. The enterprise is a space of hope. This is quite deep. We'll read a little more about that. The labor of the entrepreneurs, attend and channel initiative, effort, capital, decide, organize, integrate the work in the project. To correct when the worker is not doing well things. They have to correct, and this will help to improve the skills of the worker. That's why after some years, it's good to promote the workers that work well. principle of collaboration. All parties should collaborate to carry out the enterprise project together. First, complying with what has been agreed, and then this is also quite important, especially today, to give a horizon of labor growth. Yeah, that is important. When philosopher Leonardo Polo used this phrase, no, the worker is not just a piece of a system, no, that you put the piece and everything is working. No, it's a person. You have to promote the person, and you have to think, well, how to help him. There are many ways. You will read some of them. That if you promote your workers, you promote your company. Obviously, there are not loyal workers, no, that don't deserve to be promoted, no, because they destroy the company. No? But normally, on the contrary, the principle of enterprise integration, people should be integrated in the project. An enterprise is a project. It's not an institution, a static thing. An enterprise is a dynamic thing. It's a project. And when one is getting, should be engaged in the project. That's why the worker cannot think, no, I just do that. I'm a part of a system and I would, no. They have to have in mind what is the final aim of the project. And the labor dialogue is a principle. You have to talk and so many things. So I will go a little fast with this. This is just the labor dispute. What we have to do with the disputes in the company. Well, simply to apply the principles that we have seen. First, the workers should elucidate, clarify what is the problem, distinguishing what is their right, their duties, and their aspiration. Many times they think, oh, things are my right, I have the right to an increase of my salary. No, probably that is an aspiration. The right is clear in an agreement, no? But this is important then to dialogue, no? And if the dialogue is not a successful dialogue, well, and there is a break of any kind of rights, you can go to another instance. For example, mediation, administrative action, judicial instance, protest also, no? Protest, a joint protest with many workers, and then a partial strike and a general strike. Because the partial strike, and remember, there is a general principle of proportionality. If there is not so big the problem, well, you cannot paralyze and to stop all the enterprise and to stop producing, because you are stopping also the source of your remuneration. No? So first partial strike, then general strike. There is are proportional reasons, no? And there are limits of the use of the force. Obviously, with a strike, you cannot destroy your company. You will be a criminal, penalized by a criminal law. So, the worker cannot apply, as anyone, never, justice by their own hand. They have some limits. More or less are the same limits of the passive resistance. For sure, you will remember, no? That there are no other means. There are the means to achieve the end are proportional. There is a right that was harmed or damaged. Obviously, they cannot destroy the property. But the limits, and you have to relate this with the requirements of the passive resistance, and then you will realize what kind of things you can do in a strike. In the readings, you will realize these but are the same of the basic resistance. So when you study, please double check the last lesson. So we finished with the work. We have now the right to rest for 10 minutes. Let's go to our break. Now it's time to the right to rest, at least to study, not to rest, but to study this right. So now a new battle here. I don't know if you know where it is, which is this country, Greece. How many things we can talk about Greece, but we will be focused today in one battle, the Battle of Marathon against the Persian Empire. Persian Empire, 5 centuries before Christ, was so big. This was the empire. You can see that, well, so big, no? There. And Greece was so little. So you can imagine if you are living in here, in Marathon, a town, and the empire of the Persian is attacking you. Whoa, that will be so bad. No, that will be so bad. Yeah, you will feel like nothing. How you will defend from this enormous monster? Well, this is the battle of today here in Marathon. Marathon was a town there, you know, with not so many people, against the Persians. An incredible battle, no? In the year 419 before Christ. The Persians wanted to invade Greece. This is the first attempt. There will be some other attempts. They will have some success later, 10 years later. But this here, there was an incredible battle with the King Darius. No? There were 2 major cities. Athens, that is quite closer here, and another in the island here, kind of island, yeah, that is Sparta. There is another movie, the Spartacus here, and the really powerful at that time was Sparta, with a lot of very trained people, very healthy and strong warriors. No? It was so famous, the Spartans army. No? Was not that in the other part. So, when they realized that the Persians were coming, the Athenians sent a guide called Phidippides to the Spartans, asking, please help us. So he ran from more or less from here to here. We will see better later, asking for assistance. But when he arrived, the Spartans were involved in a religious festival and gave this as a reason for not coming to help to the Athenians. They prefer, no, we are happy here, don't worry. So the Athenians choose finally the location for the battle. You know, at that time you have to choose where you go. With marches and mountains terrain to prevent the cavalry of the Persians, no? So the Grecians reinforced his flanks. This is quite clever strategy, luring the Persians' best fighters into his center, no? To great flanks, and when they come to the battle, the most important part of the others will be in the middle, and you can act as a scissor, no? Cutting your enemy from both sides. No? It's a crossfire strategy of battling. So they lured the Persians' advisor into the center, and the inward wheeling flanks enveloped the Persians were routing them. And there was a panic, and all the Persians, after seeing that they were losing their best people, and that amount of people, they escaped to their ships. Ships. More or less, you can see here. It's incredible. It's incredible. The Athenians in one side and the Persian forces in the another. Well, the commanders, it's the same. The strength, no? In the Persian Empire, 25,000 infantry plus 1,000 in the cavalry. And the Persians, they were not cavalry. That's why they put marathon for the location to war. No? 10,000 Athenians, well, like almost the third part. Well, troops, but not that much. But you can see here the casualties. It's incredible, no? The Athenians only lose 192 people. Here you can see 6,000 people they lose. Incredible, no? So it was a magic, probably magic, no? They expected to be destroyed, but this great monster, they won. they won. Incredible, no? So the result of the battle you can have here. This is the Persians army broke in pain towards the ships. Persian forces driven out of mainland Greece for 10 years more. There will be the second invasion, and they will have success, the Persians. And the Athenians sent, as you know, a message to the Spartans asking support. So it means that Philippides ran more or less 140 miles. So it's a lot. No, it's not the same long as the marathon. But there is a lot of myths here, a lot of them. No? So now the people used to say so many stories about that battle. For example, the most common is that Philippides ran from Marathon to Athens, not to ask help to the people of Sparta, but to announce the Greeks' victory, no? With the name and with the word Nenikekamon. So it means Nike, and it means victory. We won. Incredible, no? Won, it's Nike, and that's why the whole word is we won. So this is now the history, and in the last century they used the same to promote after the Second World War, especially the new marathon. No? The marathon is with this legend. They measure the distance between Athens and Marathon from here to here, and it is about 26 miles. Is nowadays any marathon around the world is 26 miles. Why? Because it's the distance between the marathon and Athens. Incredible. Incredible. So the legends, that's our legend. And now if you go to Greece, they have two marathons, no? First one, the proper marathon between the town Marathon and Athens, that is exactly 26 miles and a little more. But they have also the Spartaton marathon and Spartaton, that is the run from Athens to Sparta, the same race that Philippides did in the past. They really race, not the other one. Yeah. So it is interesting to know why we run marathons. You have great marathons here and great people running these kind of things around the world. No, this is a graphic of the battle. You can see here the people of Athens breaking the forces of the Persians. They ran to, they are running more, some of them to the ship, trying to escape. You can see here, no, that is activated the way to escape. No? So now the questions. Which is the aim of running? Why you run? This guy is resting or not? So this is I will answer this because before, well, in Athens, well, there are many people were exercising, practicing sport, but this is a practice that was not so common in the antique world, not in the medieval world, not in the modern world. Well, to practice exercise every day, well, it is more or less some kind of new, or now we are living that, no? There are many people just with jogging, running every day because they want to be fit and so many things. Now it's a kind of cult of the body, but on the other hand, it's so healthy, is at some extent. So, and they see just as a rest. But the second question I want to ask you, run is a kind of rest or not? If you have to run to be on time in your work, to get a salary, to be paid, this is a kind of rest or not? What do you think? Yes, Rosalind.
If you're running for rejuvenation, then it is a kind of rest, like to relax your body. But if you're running to work, then I don't think it's rest.
Yeah, and if you just run, for example, here in the street, or because you have a routine, every day you run 2 hours, this is a kind of rest. Jungly? I don't know. You can write it.
I'd argue it's not a form of rest, especially if the aim is physical endurance.
Yeah.
Because it's very tiring and not everybody can just do it.
Yeah, I will say that it depends. For example, if you are a professional runner, well, it's your job, it's your profession. It's not how the runners or the players of a team of football rest, probably in their beds, seeing television, reading a book, and how the workers of an office that is the whole day seeing a screen and writing and reading, how the rest was running. Yeah. So what is rest? No, what is rest? That is the question. That is the question here. No, what it means to rest. So I will say that look, that bird is coming to us little by little. Is that bird resting? Seems to be that it's doing nothing, but it's flying so beautiful. So rest is the cessation of effort and the repose of the potencies. That is quite interesting. What is proper to them? That's why if you are in an office the whole day in a seat without moving yourself, what do you have to do? Moving yourself with the proper movement of each potency, in order to be healthy. But what is the way to rest of a professional player of a very famous Manchester United? Well, probably not working the muscles because the whole day was working, but working with the mind, because the intellect is not so is have not so much things in front, probably seeing art, seeing big movies and many kind of other kind of things. You have to rest the things that you put some effort and are tired. Rest, that's why it's a space of freedom of each potency. So if you understand this, you will understand the answer of the next question. But not the next one exactly. Is there a right to rest? Well, we have seen that in Article 24, and also in the Covenant. Is there a right to rest and leisure? This was a controversy, great controversy, this article, when it was approved. So there were many papers around the world. Do we have the right to play a game? Well, if not, if we have, who is the responsible? Well, but at least there is the declaration and also in the covenant, as you saw, the part of the work, the part of the work. So there a duty to rest. This is more interesting, that there isn't any covenant. Is there a duty? So it seems to be not so easy. Obviously, the employer should give to they have the duty to give time to rest to their workers. But here is something more. The human being has the right and the duty to guide his whole life to a final rest. This is quite interesting. New words, two new words, final rest. It means that there could be two kinds of rest. The immediate rest, to take some air and to continuous work. But that rest is not a final rest. It's a rest with the aim of something else, to continue working. And work is to continue to rest. So there should be a final rest. I don't know if you follow me. I will be more clear later. Which include the right to rest. Well, first, remember the notion of rest. If some potency of ourselves is tired, well, rest is to give the opportunities to develop, to improvement, and to move, to rest, specifically to that potency, no? So it means the right to rest includes every potency, every power, every capacity of the human being. There are bodily powers, there are spiritual potencies, and there are psychic capacities. So the first one is so clear, We saw also in the last lecture that sleep is a basic need, a survival need. Bathing too, nutrition too. But we cannot hear some leisure, some sport, and all of them are related to the body. But also the psychic. How our psychic rest? Well, with play. Play is to put, you will see the attention in something not so hard, no? Or with conversation, talking with people, no? That is not my theory, that every psychologist, every psychiatrist also used to say, conversation allows people to be better in their psychology, to rest, and with the company. That's why our family needs our company. It's also a psychological rest. The intellectual rest, reading, intuition, tourism, art, and the rest of the will. How the will rest. Each potency rest, doing what is proper. the body moving or sleeping, no. And the will, loving is probably one of the most important rest of our lives, no? Yeah, and you can realize, no, if you really love someone, you staying with the company and loving you will rest. So each potency, that's why it was so important, the notion of rest. The content one, prioritize the rest that is preferred. You have also to protect some time necessary to rest. You will see with a lot of detail how much time. You will see later when you're reading the readings of this week. Well, because you have time to get some air to continue working, a daily time, a weekly time, an annual time to rest. But to rest in which way? With the final rest, not just with the middle rest types of rest. And also for fulfill your civic duties, religious duties, and so on. Right. For the protection and the current, well, of the most valuable rest, and the probably even a day off in the most important feast or celebrations. So here's once again, it's so important to remember the Industrial Revolution, because so many things happen in the Industrial Revolution. One of them, remember, the previous economical structure of the world was in the farms, with the peasants, with the land, and the one who have the land will have the power. Now it's not longer absolutely identically to that time. So, but the peasants probably will have many time. Yeah, probably they have some duties with the land, but will have in some way, well, but time for their families, themselves. But with the Industrial Revolution, it was at the very beginning, there was no limit of time to work. And so the workers, the employers see, well, I have so many people asking me to work here. Well, if you want to be here, you have to work 16 hours a day. No? So, and if not, well, go away. Yeah. So there was a lot of issues at the very beginning, in the 18th century, with many people working in the worst conditions and in the worst place, and, with no time for their families. And so they tried, at least in Sundays. Sundays was protected by religion, by the way, not by this industrial revolution, but religion. This is a commandment. You cannot work this day. So there were many things that they do to rest. One of the most famous one that was an antique custom from the medieval time was this. Don't you know what is this? This is Italy, one place of Italy. This is football. Medieval football. You can see here at least 3 teams. So it's incredible how was the football there. So these are archaic forms of football. It was a game played in towns and villages, involving an unlimited number of players, and unlimited number of teams also, no? Who would clash in a heavy mass of people struggling to drag an inflate pig's bladder by any means possible to mark her at the at each end of a town. So the goals were in the extremes of a town. Incredible, no? So in some such events, any means could be used to move the ball towards the goal, as long as it does not lead to manslaughter or murder. So you can kick, you can do whatever you want. It was quite insane. So, and the whole city, and the whole town playing, and the whole village. You can see here more of the brother. And also the problems that they were was more or less like a rugby, like American football, but with the whole city. And you can imagine that was so incredible, but at the same time so problematic for the people, for the neighbors. There was a lot of things destroyed in each game, in each weekend. Many times people killed absolutely because they want the ball. There were no rules. Well, it was an issue. It was an issue. And in the United Kingdom, it is not sane. It's quite unfair. So here you have to be sick. You have to be not a civilized individual. So in the 19th century, specifically in 1835, there was an act, the Highway Act, that banned the football plays. And there were, on the other hand, well, they tried to do something outside in the lands of some landowners. And the judge many times approved that outside, but not in the street, not this kind of civil, but was bad. And there were many policies in the UK, but it's incredible because the football players were stronger, at least from the UK. And they did so many strikes to play football. Incredible strikes, imagine that. Strikes. At the end, after several years, they got an approval and they constituted the Football Association in 1863, the first professional football association with some rules, and you cannot kill anyone for the ball, and you have to play outside of the highway, and many things. And that's the beginning of the modern football that we know now. That's the beginning. Incredible story, no? So I put all these kind of things just to show you which can be the aims of the sport. So the aim of the sport, which can be, well, the aim is rest. Rest is an end in itself. That's why it's more important, at least for most of the philosophers, than the work, no? So, the rest is orientated to maintaining and improving the relationship with the divinity. This is quite important. This is one of the aims, well, to give. This is also rest, because that's why it's an end in itself, no? But also to give our time to our family, to our friends. What we do in the weekend? Well, to spend time with the loved ones, no? With our family, with a friend, or to seek the truth and beauty. That's why we can go to a museum to see the nature. Some safaris is a good way to rest and to restore our energies, and you know very well, to dedicate time to care, house, nature, and things. You know, it is a value, obviously, because the same things. Rest is a basic necessity of our human nature. No, we cannot live without sleeping. We cannot live. Is well, the purpose was to be more human, to be more person, to develop ourselves, doing the thing that we mentioned in the 5 use points. So from a relative point of view, rest can be as a mean to continue working, but in an absolute way, it should be different. We will see this. Which is the best way of rest? You will say, well, it depends. No, I really want to be in a safari. I prefer to be with my family. Well, some rules we can put. No, the one that rest you better, and your main potency is better. No, it's better to rest first our intellect, our will, our sight than our body. No, that's why a mother is happy when she's seeing that the children are so good, no? But at the same time, a mother with a lot of wealth, with so much money and so many things, is not so happy. She see that all the children are corrupt politicians and so on. No? So that is related to the ultimate aims, no? With family, friends, and to produce more fruits, because in the rest you can produce things also. This is quite interesting, so deep I have no time to see. The feast, the festivals in each town produce so many benefits, attracts tourists, promotes commerce, and many things. No, at least I think the best rest is the feast. Is the feast that includes all, no? Well, diversions, share with family, share time, fun things, and produce so many things. Tourists come, so many things, festivals, and so I will say that. So then, principles of the rest. Principles of the rest. I will say that could be 6, more or less related to the principles of the work. You will see. There was a principle of adequate work, adequate rest. No, if you work to yourself according to your culture, according to your wishes. That's why free rest, free work, sufficient rest, the sufficient to work again or to do whatever you want. A lawful rest, should be lawful. Social rest, no? As I told you, no? To rest with people, you will rest more than if you just see a television, no? Probably many times it's good to talk, to share time with your people. Now, this is quite interesting, the type of rest. Now you will understand better some things that we say. So there are 2 main types of rest. Middle rest, a rest that have the aim of continue working, and final rest for your life. No, the most important is the final, not the middle. No, the middle, you need to cover your basic needs. Sleeping, for example, no, eating, and so on. No? We saw that. We saw that when we saw the basic needs. But also we cannot hear the diversions. No? This is an incredible part of the law that is developed in the last decades. No? For example, the sports law, the games law, the dancing law. Well, this two centuries ago was regulated. Also, in many places around the world, also in the UK, because the Industrial Revolution. No? Okay, and also in the States 1 century ago, and 2 centuries too, where you can dance, where you can sing, not to disturb any neighbor. So it is quite interesting, no? And there could be another superior rest in this culture, tourism, for example, to see art, nature, to see things. No? Ultimate rest. To be rest should be related to the will and specifically to the intellect. No? To the intellect, to see things, to see. Well, and the ultimate rest is that feels the most radical of the person. What is the most radical? What really feels us? Well, people, but the person, not any material thing. The person, being with beloved ones, no? And that's why it's divided into this, no? Caring for people, and caring for the divine divinity, the divine. And that's why, what do you do in the weekends? Well, you share time with your family, and that is a great way to rest. And also, you give some time to the divine. And this is quite interesting, because what we will do at the end of our life, well, we will rest in peace forever. We hope so. We hope so. So it means that there should be a feast at the end of our life. And if not, the whole life makes no sense. So we have seen in the last lecture of jurisprudence something about the right to feast. I will remember just 2-3 ideas, and I will pass them to the last part of the lecture. What is a feast? You will remember which elements do you need? Well, we need some drink for a feast, or not. We need some lights if this is a birthday, some candles, a gift. Well, taking it seriously, first we need people. We need people, yeah, to celebrate, to share. It's impossible to share if there is not another guy. No, we can celebrate alone, and it will be so sad. I remember one day that was in the very incredible place, but alone, waiting my friends, and my friends never came. So the greatest place was not so great. So we need people, and also for a feast. Also, we need a reason to celebrate, at least friendship, a party. Or, but we can celebrate better things. For example, the win of the Battle of Marathon. So great. We almost have no casualties. So we have to celebrate them. We have to save our lives. No, the most important things should be the personal events. No, when a child born, it's so important that we will celebrate each year. We will remember each year. Yeah, the foundation of a state, of a country. We will remember. And that is the notion of anniversary. Anniversary is a kind of feast, an annual feast to remember something that was great. Well, the action of celebrating also, no? The action of celebrating. That is a joyful and peaceful sharing of what is being celebrated. It's a sharing of this, no? And finally, a form, no? A festive form. That's why we put candles, light. That's why we put in the feast. Well, some gifts, some food, special food, not the ordinary one, and some entertainment, some diversions. So you can see here that all kind of rest, the middle rest and the ultimate rest, are present in the feast. And the feast is the final aim. and that's why I repeat, no? For me, if there is no feast at the end of our life, well, our life makes no sense. So with this, we finish this. And we can go directly to the last part, that is just a Kahoot. So I would let me share. You know very well how it works. I will ask in the Kahoot 10 questions. I will give some points to the 3 final, the people that will be in the podium. And all questions will be about this lecture of today. Okay, are you ready? So let me find the Kahoot and play it. Teach, okay. Classic. Let's wait a minute. Seems to be that yes. Okay. So this is the can you see? Person recording. Okay. After playing this, okay. So great to see that you are remembering all the things that we have seen. Well, we covered all the goals of lecture today: the right to work, and related rights, the right to rest. Incredible, so many things here, no? So it is a right developed still today. The Kahoot, and with this is our last lecture of human rights. So it's good to celebrate with a feast now, the last lecture of human rights.